And we now talk to Dr. Cynthia Saloma. She is the Executive Director of the Philippine Genome Center. Good morning, ma'am. Thanks for joining us once again.
Okay, good morning and thanks for having me.
Okay, let's first talk about the close contacts of the UK variant cases in Mountain Province that tested positive for COVID-19. That we understand that the samples of 34 close contacts in Bontoc and 4 in La Trinidad have been submitted to the Genome Center. Ma'am, how soon can you release the results to find out if they too have the UK variant?
So, Ria, the process of genome sequencing is of course, dependent really on the technology. I cannot say how soon we can do it, primarily because we need to gather all other samples from the different parts of the Philippines. So we will have a better picture of whether or not this kind of variant is present. So as of now, our technology is able to sequence, for example, 750 at a time, or 25 at a time, depending on the platform to be used. So that one will be discussed with the DOH Epidemiology Bureau as to the best possible way by which we can attack or the sequencing process.
Right.
So so Ria, because the sequencing before the technology was, it will take us 2 months, a month, a week. Technically, the technology will allow us to do it for 3 days, but because we do not do it individually on an individual basis, we do it en masse. So that because the kits to save on reagents, and also of course because the kits can do a lot of samples at the same time, then it has to be done very prudently. So we are using Illumina platform. So that is the world's leader in terms of sequencing technology.
Right, but you want to get as many samples every time you sequence. But Doctora, can you tell us more about the characteristics of the UK variant? Among the patients who tested positive for this new variant are kids as young as 5 years old, and understandably that's a huge cause of concern for many parents. So would you agree that this variant is highly transmissible? And secondly, is it really more deadly than the previous variants we've seen?
Okay, Ria, in terms of transmissibility, there are some in vitro data coming from the UK that says it is anywhere between 56 to 70% more transmissible, primarily because of mutations at the spike region of the protein of the virus. So we all know that the spike region is the protrusion outside of the virus that contacts the receptor in human cells, which is the ACE2 receptor. So it seems as though this particular kind of mutation makes it possible for the virus to attach more efficiently. Now, regarding the number of children, there is also data that says that that this particular kind of virus can attach or can infect a lot of children better when compared to the other variants of this coronavirus. So when we looked at the data from Bontoc has about 3 individuals, at least from the 12, 3 individuals below 18 with a 1 as young as 5 years old. So here there's really a note for caution, primarily because data not only from the UK but from other parts of the world seem to suggest that this virus has some the possibility of it infecting younger children is very high.
But is it more deadly, Doctor?
Oh, no, not more deadly. There seems, so even in the UK where you have the Prime Minister saying it's more deadly, then other scientists saying not so deadly, it is really based on the statistics that they are using. But so far, in terms of hospitalization, length of hospitalization, and symptomatology, this particular kind of variant does not seem to be any more deadly. But I would like to also point out, Ria, that in the Philippine Genome Center, we also did a further bioinformatics analysis that tells us that the virus, the strain, the B.1.7 that we found in the cluster in Bontoc Mountain Province, cluster very close together, raising the possibility that the source is 1 or 2 individuals. That's number 1. And then we also looked at the sequences coming from Lebanon and also from the United Emirates, United Arab from Dubai, and they also clustered together, suggesting the possibility that the virus or the strain of the not really variant, subvariant of the B.1.7 is of the UAE or probably in that region strain. The one in Calamba is a little bit different from the rest of the two. It is a different branch when we did our haplotype analysis.
So, ma'am, does
So we
that
don't
mean that there are mutations already? Are we seeing a mutation of the UK variant based on the samples that you've tested so far?
So you can say, Ria, that even if you have a UK variant, which we say B.1.7, there are different mutations within that particular kind of variant. So that's why we can, for example, distinguish one infecting people in Bontoc, one where we had people from Lebanon and Dubai. They're really clustered together in terms of sequence similarity.
All right. So, is there a strain, or rather a variant, that might be unique to the Philippines?
The possibility of that is there, Ria, but we know that the variant, the possibility of a local variant is there. That's why it is very, very important that we really lower our cases, because the more hosts there are, the higher is the possibility of the virus mutating in the host. So without the host, the virus cannot mutate. So if you notice, a lot of these viruses are coming out in countries where there are really a lot of cases.
All right. Can we say, Doctora, that in the Philippines there has been community transmission of the new variant?
So based on the definition of the WHO, there are some criteria that we have to see and we have to satisfy. So the one that was mentioned by Dr. Yusek Vergeri has to be looked into, because they say that based on contact tracing, they were able to see 3 clusters there. So that one we need to confirm. So far, we look at the data from Calamba. We did not see any spike of cases there, and I would like to presume that the person who was infected quarantined very well. The one in our airports, the one from Lebanon and Dubai were of course in quarantine, so they were not able to hopefully infect other individuals. But the one in Bontoc, that one is the most concerning. So we have to see more.
Okay, Dr. Saloma, is it possible for a patient who tested positive for the UK variant to infect other people, pero yung nahawa niya, hindi UK variant ang meron? Is that possible? Or if a person has the UK variant, they can only pass on the UK variant?
Yes, that's true, Ria. So that is also perplexing to us, because the individual whom they believe was the possible index case, when we did the sequencing, the variant there is B.1.63. But the reason is also because it came from the Philippines. It arrived in the Philippines on the 11th, and by the time we sequenced it, it was already in January. So for that particular sample, the possibility is also high that the person himself could have been infected by the local variant, because the sequencing result was very strong, very robust, was very reliable. The variant is B.1.1.63. So there is, of course, a possibility that an individual could get another kind of infection, but we don't have any direct evidence. So, but I would like to emphasize that if the person is carrying a B.1.1.7, you can only infect another person with the same variant.
Right. Thank you for that clarification and for your time this morning. That was Philippine Genome Center Executive Director, Dr. Cynthia Saloma.